Welcome you all in this second module of our video series for BCSP 064, that is project course in our BCA program. In this module we will discuss about components of project synopsis. As we have discussed in our first module that how project course is going to help us in different aspects of our academic as well as professional life, and what is the importance of problem selection and what are the different objectives associated with this particular course. So, in that context, if we further move on and we try to find out that what actually a synopsis consists of, then that is the actual thing that we have to learn and that we have to submit as part of our project synopsis. So, this module is, I will say, one of the most important module of this series of module, in which we are going to discuss components of project synopsis. So, in this discussion we will discuss about analysis and design documents required to be given in the project synopsis, and then to identify different diagrams and which diagrams are suitable for us to give as part of our project synopsis, that we will try to learn, and on the basis of that this session will help you to develop proper project synopsis. So, let us move on and have discussion on components of project synopsis. Basically, a project synopsis is having very clear objective, it is having very clear purpose for which you are developing the synopsis, and some of the points I have already discussed in our first module of this series, and subsequently we can say that the purpose of this particular synopsis is to having proper objective of the system as well as providing detailed system analysis when we are giving our project synopsis. Along with that, it is also essential for us to say something about feasibility of that specific problem, that how that particular problem is feasible and how we will be in position to develop that particular problem in different constrained environment. And if I am saying constrained environment, it means that we are having a specified time duration with us, we are having some specific objective which we have to meet, and more importantly we are having some very clear defined credit of work that we have to do. So, in that we are doing our project. So, those all constraints we have to meet, and while meeting those constraints we have to define our different component in such a way that in combination all the components meet our those specified objectives. At the stage of the analysis of the system which you are going to develop, it is essential for you to act as a system analyst. Though you are a student and you are at the learning phase of your activities, you are doing your bachelor's level in computer science. So, you are expected maybe someday to perform the job of the analyst, and you have learned so many things that what are the activities of the analyst. So, you have to rehearsal that, or you have to practice on those activities, principles, and on the basis of that you have to do the analysis of your system. And during analysis process you are expected to interact with your client. If suppose you are not having any specific client with you, so you have to taking those information as part of your analysis document, and subsequently you are developing your system. Now, if we take some specific example of the system development or what kind of problem we are going to take as part of our BCA project. Scarcity of the problem, or there is no crunch of the problem, you are having plenty of problem, just you have to take one specific problem in which you are comfortable with, and you can define the objective associated with that problem, and you can try to automate that particular problem to develop your system. Here I have mentioned list of the problems are given here: hospital management system, library management system, online education system, banking management system, online shopping system, e-governance system, and if you are developing some system utility, that also may be considered as a project work, and various web applications or web services. And nowadays we are using mobile or mobile services. So, mobile apps development for different kind of utility or services, that also may be considered as a specific problem for solving your problems for the BCA project. If you take one specific institution for you which you are going to develop your system, Let us say if you are going to develop hospital management system, then it may be you are going to develop a very big enterprise system for hospital management, or you are going to do some activities of the specific hospital in automated way. Understanding that what is happening in that system is that to interact with the people who are working there, interact with the people who are availing the service from that particular specific organization, and moreover, if some manual forms are available that are going to be filled and some processing activities are there, some documentation is being done on the basis of certain form filling or certain kind of information is being taken by the customers from that particular organization, those forms also provide you a kind of input to do the analysis of the system. So, you will very easily know that how actually that system is working and you will be in position to find out. So, all those things you see, you will find plenty of information available to you. On the basis of that, you can definitely do proper analysis of system. Similarly, library management system, if you see very simple operation and simple activity, you know just issuing a book and returning a book is not the activity of the library. There are so many activities associated with the library. So, what kind of online services are there, what kind of user category are there, what kind of other account management activities are there, what are different kind of privileges provided to different users are there. If all those things you are considering, definitely you are going to develop a better system. So, it is not that the title of the problem itself, how actually you are going in deep that particular specific problem solving, that is going to help you to develop the system. And many more online banking, you know, and some of you might be using that. You know, there are plenty of activity that you can do and you can take as your project, and even some component of that particular whole online enterprise banking system or online totally distributed banking system you are taking in that. If some module or some specific activities you are automating, then also you are fulfilling the requirement of BCA level project and you can do that. E-governance system, as we are moving towards digital India, so many of the activities of our government services are now digitized and many of activities are in process of digitization which need automation activities. So, you can take any problem and you can solve that particular problem, or you can make a automated system to work on that particular domain, then definitely you are serving the purpose and you are learning as well in that process. And many more activities, as I mentioned, there are many services nowadays provided by mobile apps. So, you develop your app and then publish that particular app in some specified stores, and definitely from there multiple users may use. So, you can explore that possibility also. Gaming is one of the direction where you can think about various kind of gaming activities, and as I mentioned that system utilities. So, you can think about some network utilities, you can think about some standalone machine activities. So, these all things provide you a kind of lead and you can easily pick up a specific problem of your interest and you can try to solve that particular. And as far as different diagrams are concerned, so DFD is one of the specific diagram which is expected from you, and DFD diagram basically provide you information about how actually movement of data is taking place from one module to another module. So, if you are having a proper DFD, the person who is looking for your project or the person who is trying to know the working of your project will very easily know that there are n number of modules, and if from one module to another module there is movement, then what kind of data is moving from one module to another module. So, that you have to show in your DFD. As far as the level of DFD is concerned, because many a time students get comment that you have to draw DFD up to certain level. So, minimum it is expected that you have to draw your DFD up to second level, and you have to show proper symbols used in DFD when you are drawing your DFD. For example, data input, data output, data store and various sub processes if you are showing. So, then all those things you show with the help of the standard symbols which are used for developing the data flow diagram. Now, as I mentioned, 0 level DFD or the context diagram you have to draw. Similarly, first level DFD you have to draw on the basis of your context diagram, and then second level DFD you have to draw, and at that level or at the second level it is expected from you that you will go some deeper or you will go some inside into the module, and you will try to decompose that particular module into sub modules, and those sub modules you are going to develop or you are going to implement. If you are using some structured approach, then definitely you are going to implement some functions, and if you are using object oriented approach, then definitely you will be having some methods which will be implemented inside your class, and your classes will be interacting to each other or objects will be interacting to each other to perform the activity. So, these methods are basically going to serve you as a module, and those modules how interacting with other modules, that will be shown by the flow of the data from one module to another and how interaction is taking place. So, draw the DFD and draw DFD up to the 3 level, I will say definitely level 2, but the 0 level, that is your context diagram. Then level 1 you draw the main modules, and at level 3 you try to go into deeper of your first level DFD and try to draw the sub modules, so that the people who are looking, or even for the purpose of evaluation, if the evaluator or the expert who is evaluating your synopsis is looking on that particular, then that person will very easily understand that what actually you are trying to convey. Now, ER diagram. ER diagram, many of the project in which you are dealing with the data, you are expected to give ER diagram. ER diagram is your entity relationship diagram. You have to identify all the entities, and then you have to find out proper relation among the entities, and you have to use proper convention and proper symbol to draw the ER diagram. You have to show the cardinality, and you have to show the kind of relationship or proper naming of the relationship, and if you are showing the attributes of your entities, then show the attributes properly. If your entities are having different kind of keys, primary key or composite key, then show those keys also properly, so that evaluator will get it very easily, and evaluator will try to next step will try to find out what relationship between your ER diagram and the database which you have been developed, or the database table which you have designed and developed in your project. So, your ER diagram as well as the database design and the table should be synchronous to each other. So, that care you have to take. If you are drawing proper ER diagram, it means you are aware about the system, you know that what kind of entities are there in your system, and accordingly you will draw your database tables, so that the entities can be mapped into those tables, and even sometimes relations also you need to keep in certain tables. So, those all things you take care, and if you are doing these things properly, gradually you do. Once you have developed your DFD, then you draw your ERD, and on the basis of ERD you try to draw your design your tables, and then try to verify that whether your ERD and tables are asynchronous or not. If they are not synchronous to each other, then try to find out the gap and try to fill it. So, if you are doing this, there is a better chance to get your synopsis approved, as well as there is better chance to develop your project report as per your specific requirement, and you will be in position to develop a good project. As I mentioned, entities, attributes, relationship, all these things you have to show properly, and each entity definitely will have attributes, and they should have some key so that they can be easily identified. If you are having some weak entities, then try to manage that particular entity as per the specific rules and regulation, so that you can keep track of that particular entity also. So, I hope you will go through the concepts of different keys, primary key, secondary, this composite key or the foreign key, strong entity, weak entity, cardinality, relationship. So, all these things you must know, and if you are knowing all these things, definitely it is going to help you in your Viva Voce also. Class diagram. Class diagram you have to give for those projects in which you are using the concept of object oriented programming or object oriented paradigm you are using. So, in that you give class diagrams, and class diagram will definitely help the person to show that how actually classes are interacting to each other, and it provide static view of whole system. And similarly, use case diagram you can give. This shows the dynamic behavior of the system, and this shows that how actually the different users or different actors in that particular system are interacting to the system and what kind of actions are performed. So, this diagram also you can give as per the requirement, and few more diagrams are there. It is not essential that you will give all the diagrams, but you can touch upon the PERT chart and Gantt chart. PERT chart is program evaluation and review technique chart. It is a network diagram that shows the sequence of the task and the milestone, showing the task and milestone priority. So, basically you are trying to draw a diagram in which you are showing that different steps or different stages of your project you are reaching, and those project stages you are reaching with some specified time duration. So, time as well as the activity mapping you are doing, and this will help you keep track of your activities. As you alone are doing all the project, as I have mentioned in my first module of this series, that you have to do your project on your own. So, you know all the activities, you know all the scheduling, but for the sake of completeness of the project, if you are giving PERT chart, it will give good impression, and also it will give you a chance to practice on this important concept of software engineering. Similarly, Gantt chart you have to draw, and this Gantt chart will help you to illustrate the project schedule. So, these are the different charts that you have to draw, and these charts, if you are drawing, these charts will help you to provide pictorial representation of your whole analysis and design. And as it is said that the pictures or the diagrams speak much more than the words. Even a picture speak thousands of words. So, if pictorial representation is there, you can say so many things in short. So, this is the purpose of keeping the different diagrams in your project synopsis. And one of the important aspect associated with synopsis is that if your synopsis get rejected, then it is a major time loss for you. So, you are advised to take your synopsis very seriously, so that you are not going to fall in that particular trap of time loss, because synopsis submission cycle comes only twice in a year. It means once you just go off that particular cycle, then you have to wait for another semester or another cycle to come. So, in that period you will be losing a heavy amount of time. So, to avoid that, just try to be more serious about synopsis, and I hope if you go through these two modules, the module first and the module second, which I am discussing here with you, and try to follow the steps I have tried to explain to you, then definitely you will be in position to produce a proper synopsis that will be having better chance of approval, and subsequently you can develop your project accordingly. And proper project synopsis should have obviously your project title. It is already mentioned in the project guidelines. So, just I am repeating it here. So, project guidelines, tools and technologies you are going to use, complete outline of your project including project schedule, objective of the project and scope of your problem which you are dealing, and analysis of the system that include SRS as well as different analysis diagrams, DFD, ERD, database table, modules, descriptions and user interface design. So, in this way if you see, your project synopsis consist about 40 to 50% of the project activity. So, if you are doing a proper project synopsis, it is not that you are not doing your project activity. Your project synopsis itself complete about 40 to 50% of your project activity. Once your synopsis is approved, then you have to implement that particular, and then you have to test, and finally you have to prepare your report. So, if synopsis is developed with guidelines provided to you, there is a very good chance of synopsis approval, and definitely it is going to leads towards proper development of your project report on time. So, with this I completed this session here, and in summary I can say that whatsoever I have mentioned in this particular discussion, if you are following those things and you are trying to develop your synopsis as per those guidelines, definitely your project guideline is there, that will also help you. But whatever point I have tried to highlight here, please consider those points and try to act accordingly, so that you can develop a proper synopsis and you can leads towards doing a proper project, and subsequently you can do better in your academic as well as the future career aspects. Thank you very much.